Well, hello and good day. Welcome once again to the afternoon update here at the Information Command Center, the studios of the Government Information Service. We welcome you, our listeners and viewers, for your regular updates regarding government's response to COVID-19, as well as updates from a number of our social partners as we go through this pandemic together on the road to recovery, of course. We are on NTN as well as the Government of Saint Lucia's Facebook page and YouTube, and we are regularly joined by WVNT 93.5 FM. Today we have another special in-studio guest who I will introduce to you shortly, but first our usual updates. The Ministry of Health and Wellness remains committed to making available Respiratory Hospital to be utilized for providing care to suspect and confirmed cases of COVID-19. To date, Saint Lucia has recorded 19 positive COVID-19 cases. Minister for Health, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, along with a delegation, recently toured the Victoria Hospital, which is being upgraded to treat patients with respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19 and will have the capacity of 85 rooms. Let's take in this report.
Minister for Health, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, along with a delegation, recently toured the Victoria Hospital, which is being transformed into a full-scale respiratory hospital. Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac says she is very pleased with the work being done on the respiratory hospital and hope it will assist in handling a possible surge of COVID-19 in Saint Lucia.
I'm hoping that we will be able to use this facility to contain the virus, to manage the virus, and to treat the virus, which is what we have been doing. But we have not been as focused as we would like to be in terms of having the proper facility. So this facility is going to give us an opportunity to have a better place to bring these potential, cases, and for us to take care of these cases in a very nice facility. It's already looking very, very nice. The rooms I saw, the size of the rooms have their own toilet in most cases, or sometimes a person may be sharing a toilet with somebody else, but it's looking excellent from now, from what I have seen.
Chief Health Planner Dwight Calix spoke on the need for government to undertake this project of significant importance.
As part of the COVID response, we had to get an intervention where we could appropriately manage our patients. So there is quarantine, there is isolation, and so on. So the respiratory facility was that response which would have managed in terms of our quarantine patients, but those quarantine patients which would have required medical attention. So our quarantine facility in the north would take care of those persons who are just suspect cases waiting for their results. This facility would be the same suspect cases waiting for results but required medical attention.
Executive Director of OKEUH and Victoria Hospital, Nancy Francis, highlighted the management of the works undertaken as to ensure the smooth running of the project.
We have ongoing construction works over at the Respiratory Hospital. At the same time, we have patients coming to receive care. So we have to ensure that the logistics is carefully coordinated between our project team, the contractor, and the World Bank team. So we have on ground our hospital engineer who's working very closely with Skelly Construction, as well as the oversight committee from the World Bank. So on a daily basis, our project engineer will be in contact with Skelly Construction so they can look at the logistics for the day. And from a management perspective, every single day we have a manager on ground at the Respiratory Hospital to ensure that things are done, things are coordinated in the right way, and we are able to respond to any emergencies that may arise.
The Victoria Hospital is designed to treat patients with respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19 and will have the capacity of 85 rooms. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fenel Neptune.
And of course, that report coming from the Bureau of Health Education. We also have some information on the operations of services at community wellness centers here. As the Ministry of Health and Wellness continues to control the spread of COVID-19, the Community Health Nursing Services informs the public that all clinics except doctors' clinic at the various community wellness centers will be conducted only by scheduled appointments. In order to adhere to the physical distancing measures, persons are asked to call or visit their respective wellness center to make an appointment. Doctors' clinics at the various wellness centers will be available on a daily basis from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. In addition, the eye clinic will resume at the Owen King EU Hospital on June 11th by appointments only. Clients will be informed via a telephone call. All persons coming to conduct business at the various community wellness centers must wear a mask and adhere to the rules of physical distancing before entering the facility. Persons' hands will also be sanitized with an alcohol-based solution. The Ministry of Health will continue to take all necessary precautions to ensure that the safety of all patients and staff during COVID-19 pandemic and to make everyone as comfortable as possible while they wait and seek care. And finally, in our roundup today, we continue to remind persons that despite the fact that we have seen some rains in recent days, the island is still experiencing a drought, with water shortages worsened due to conditions at the John Compton Dam. Recently, Prime Minister the Honorable Alan Shastney toured the dam along with WASCO officials for a better understanding of the situation.
Today we are at the John Compton Dam. As most persons know, we're going through a severe drought or severe dry weather spell. Saint Lucia is actually under a drought warning now. Ever since say, March the 1st, we recognize the levels of the dam started dropping rapidly. As of the 6th of April, we made a decision to reduce the amount of water we abstract from the dam so that we could try to navigate through the entire dry season.
What we call the John Compton Dam Rehabilitation Project essentially comprises two projects. One is the construction of the sediment disposal area, and the other is the actual dredging itself.
So after Hurricane Thomas, we actually lost 2/3 of the capacity of the dam, 2/3. And so the project that we're undertaking to do the desilting, it would take 8 years and no siltation taking place to get the dam back to its original capacity. The other problem that has been created, so after Thomas, the lower water intake has been lost.
We have been undertaking the construction of the sediment disposal area since about May of 2018. That area essentially is the building of what we call a dike to withhold or to contain the sediment that we will dredge from the dam, from the reservoir, and transport across to the sediment disposal area.
We're making a significant investment to improve the capacity of the water. This is a project that's long overdue. Sadly, it is subject to the elements. Because of the rains earlier in the year, it put a dent in the time to get the siltation trap done.
Ironically, we are now making good progress with the kind of drier weather that we're experiencing. So this is good for the project, but not so good for WASCO and its operations. But we have been having good progress in the last few months. We are seeking to get to first what we call an elevation of 82 meters above sea level, where we can commence the dredging process. The end goal of the project essentially is to remove a quantity of sediment from the reservoir, which is behind us, to that disposal area. Why? That sediment essentially is blocking what we term the lower port of the low obstruction port of the reservoir. So what happens is we cannot take any water from that lower port right now because it's blocked by sediment. So we have two ports, and the upper port is fine, but the lower port is blocked. So we have been constantly taking from the upper port for the last few years. And this year, it is, of course, we're now saying that it is very critical that we get to that lower port because the levels are dropping to very close to the level of the upper port. And if we go below that, then we cannot use that, and we will have a problem extracting water from the reservoir.
there's a significant water loss once the water is treated. So there's an estimate that 60% of the water that we produce out of Cicerone is lost. And so that's the next big challenge that we have. And that's sadly, when the pipes were built, they should have been 2 pipes built at the same time for redundancy, and that was never done.
So anytime you have a burst pipe occurring on the water line, we have to shut off the pumps at the JCD dam as well as the treatment plant and try to work overnight to repair it. No redundancies were created. It would have been better if we had another line side by side with the existing line to extract water and transport it to the Teebles treatment plant.
And that's something we're having to look into. We're also looking at the possibility of desalinization. A lot of the countries here have gone, and certainly with the reduction in rainfall, it's something we're going to have to look at. And as the country is starting to develop, both in the north and in the south, having desal might be an option. That's one of the things we're currently looking at.
We're now activating our plan B, which is to be able to abstract water from below that 312 feet or the first spot. We have already done the pipe work, and we have already placed the pump onto a barge so that we can start doing that as soon as we are ready to do so.
We are not taking any chances because, as you know, there has been a drastic reduction in rainfall from February of this year. So what we have done there now is to install a line from our operations room or pump room to go over the spillway and directly into the reservoir, right, just in case we arrive at that threshold.
We are hoping that we don't have to get to a level if we are now in the hurricane season, and we're hoping at least we get some rainfall which would steady the decline in the levels at the dam. So we're doing all in our power to ensure that we're able to manage the limited resource we have, and rest assured that our plan B will be put in place if we have to get to a point, the critical point which we don't want to get to.
And there you had it, the assessment of the situation that obtains at the John Compton Dam. So once again, we continue to ask persons to use water wisely and to continue to play your part to protect our rivers, our oceans, and of course our forests, which provide coverage for the water catchment areas. Today in studio with me, I have a very special guest that you're going to meet in a short while. In many countries, June is observed as Men's Health Awareness Month. And of course, June is also the month when fathers are celebrated, specifically June 21st, Father's Day. This year, one young man is aiming to ensure that these observances are not lost here in Saint Lucia amidst the coronavirus global pandemic. He has organized a series of webinars to empower men. The first was held on Saturday, June 6th, on the topic Mental Health, COVID-19, job loss, handling stress, and relationships. Here to tell us more about his project is Shavone Bryan. Welcome, Shavone.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, sir. It's a pleasure being on the show.
You're most welcome. Tell us a little more about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Shavone Bryan, and I am a youth advocate. Most recently, I'm the 2020 Youth Parliamentarian for Castries North, and persons who follow Youth Parliament as well as the activities of the National Youth Council would notice our involvement in our National Youth Debate. I'm also the Youth Prime Minister as well as the founder, most importantly, of the Communicate Project. I am a strong advocate for people development. I have a heavy interest in soft skills development, and as a student of the UE Open Campus as well as the London School of Journalism, I focus on acquiring skills so that it can help others achieve their goals. And my mandate is, it circumvents around that desire and that passion that I have. There's a lot of community involvement that I take part in, and just to name a few, I'm the incoming president of the Public Service Toastmasters Club. and I'm a regular churchgoer, and I love to socialize, love to meet people, as well as dealing with young people and finding out what affects them and seeing how I could voice their concerns as a youth advocate. So there's a lot of dialogue that I do, and it's just about keeping myself up to date with what's happening socially, as well as using that message to further advance the cause of young people in Saint Lucia.
Quite a busy young man. I noticed you mentioned the Communicate project. I see your logo there on your shirt. Tell us more about that.
Okay, well, the Communicate project, the idea was birthed back in 2018. However, the activities of the Communicate project, they have been, well, from 2018, they have been in operation. We have focused on doing training seminars and leadership courses for young people, and this is something I did on my own pro bono. I'm not a professional, but just out of my passion of wanting to develop young people is something that I did. And in 2020, a group of us, young people, we came together and we decided to put this venture on paper, and we labeled it the Communicate Project. And the main mandate of this project is to empower persons through the teaching of soft skills as well as literature. So the CATE in Communicate is in caps, and this stands for 4 of our main pillars, which is community, action, training, and the E is for everyone. So we want to ensure that all our efforts are geared towards every single person in society. Initially, we target young people, but we realized that because of the great need for our skills, that a lot of older persons can benefit. And we do not want to discriminate and only advocate for young people. So we then decided to place this part of Communicate in bold so that we can always remember our mandate in all that we do.
For the month of June, you decided to shift your focus on young men. A series of seminars you have planned. Why was this so important to you at this time?
Well, June 2020 is a very important month for men. And what I notice is that in society, there's a great importance placed on the celebration of mothers, which is very good. And as we celebrate and we honor mothers, we then go back and we recognize their contributions to our individual lives and society. And then following mothers, there's the celebration of fathers, which comes a month after. And there is not an equal excitement surrounding the celebration of fathers. And what I realize is a lot of our social ills, be it crime and anything that impacts us socially or economically, it boils down to the family. And when the family is examined, a lot of persons focus on the involvement of fathers and the presence of fathers in those families. And I took a look with my team, and it was a long debate that we had that why isn't there any forum to celebrate the men? And as much as society would quickly jump on the bandwagon to highlight the bad things that occur with men in society, such as the high rates of suicide, the high rates of crime, the majority of domestic violence cases that are purported which involve men along the way, I realized that we need to reverse that. And if we are working for a better society, then we need to focus at the core, which is building our men. Because we expect men to be leaders in society, but then it almost comes after the fact, after they have already developed, grown into full-blown men, acquired values over a span of 10, 20, 30, 40 years, then we expect them to just be that leader. Rather, the Communicate project decided that, you know what, this year we are going to focus on building them holistically. So the purpose of our webinar series, which is entitled Management, deals with the holistic man. And we targeted 5 main areas, but we're also looking to expand into other areas. The 5 main areas are mental health, spiritual health. We're looking at men in families functioning as husbands and fathers. we're looking at men encouraging men, and we're also looking at young fathers, because we have many young fathers in society, and like I said, there's a big celebration around Mother's Day, but I believe our men need some equal validation. And the purpose of this webinar is not to make them feel like it's all about men, but to give them that forum to let them know that they are appreciated too, because as much as society may remember all the bad concerning men, there's a lot of good men out there. And if we are looking at building positive role models, then we must ensure that the good men we have there, we build them, we grow them. And even our men who may be facing challenges domestically, spiritually, mentally, we need to groom them and help them become better men of tomorrow, rather than shun them and regard them as merely a statistic. So out of that desire, this is where the webinar birthed.
Let's go back to the first webinar. How
Yes.
did it go, and why did you decide to discuss men and mental health?
Okay, well, actually, there's a funny backstory to that, and it was a conversation I was having with my partner, and she was saying, you know, I don't think men can handle stress well. And just by that line, I was like, well, that's what you think. And a simple conversation steered the entire direction of the project, because I noticed that mental health, and Dr. Julius Gillard, he was able to break the notion that mental health only deals with people who are cynical and people who have lost their mind. Mental health deals with your state of mind. You could be a calm man and have a mental health issue. Is that important? And what we notice is that the mental health is where we should start, because if we want to change the way they think, then we must address the way they think. And mental health is so broad, it targets areas of stress, it targets areas of notions, values, beliefs, behaviors. So we decided to put mental health as the first item on our agenda, because we have lots of things happening in society. Even with COVID-19, we realized that the mental health of our males have been affected drastically. Men have lost their jobs. Some men have lost their ability to become breadwinners. Some men are still trying to deal with coping, well, they're still coping with being under the lockdown. They're coping with trying to balance work, their personal development, as well as managing the children at home. And these are areas which we thought was very much necessary to deal with in our first webinar. So we focused the attention on mental health, and that session went really well. We had over 80 participants through our Zoom meeting as well as our Facebook Live. And persons came. We even had women in attendance who came and inquired questions they inquired on behalf of their partners and significant males in their life. So it was a very open forum where persons were allowed to freely communicate and ask without being judged or without feeling like their contributions are under a microscope. And Dr. Gilead was able to facilitate that session with his expertise, as well as provide the forum for people to ask and their questions to be addressed in an adequate fashion.
Okay, talking about Dr. Gillard, we'll be joined shortly by Dr. Julius Gillard, who is a consultant psychiatrist attached to the Wellness Center. We take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Gillard as well as with Shavone from the Communicate Project.
And in the latest news, the coronavirus, or COVID-19, continues to be a health emergency across the world. Caribbean people are concerned.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. And don't discriminate, cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening. We're in this together. We all got to work with each other. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor. Red Cross volunteers from across the Caribbean, working hard to fight discrimination. So if a person should feel ill, then they will contact the authorities without hesitation. The most vulnerable are the elderly, but the truth is it can infect anybody. So what we need is solidarity. Everyone helping everyone like a family. So this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization. Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. Don't discriminate cause it might be, it very well could be, somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening. People around the world facing this pandemic. Coronavirus have the whole world a panic. Now is not the time to be fearful, but to be careful, supportive and empathetic. This is the state of this society. Some people full of fear and anxiety. Yo, a lot of fake news in the community. But what we need now is more love and unity. So this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization. Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. Don't discriminate cause it might be, it very well could be, somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening. We're in this together. We all got to work with each other. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor.
And welcome back. As I mentioned during our break, we're joined by Dr. Julius Gilead. He's correcting me on the pronunciation of his name. Psychiatrist attached to the Wellness Center, right? Oh, you're at Tapio. You're moving quite quickly. A couple of years ago, you were at the Wellness Center. Now, yeah.
I'm at Tapio Hospital.
Okay, well, welcome nonetheless. I should begin. We were just talking with Shavone about the webinar last week. Before I get some feedback from you on the webinar that you participated in, what is research showing when it comes to Saint Lucian men and mental health, mental wellness?
Well, the first thing I can say is that there is no research in Saint Lucia on the mental health of men, and this is something that is now becoming urgent.
Mm-hmm.
One of my reasons for not being at the Wellness Center anymore is to try to get that going. It's been a task, but we do need some form of research on men's mental health in Saint Lucia specifically, because we have our idiosyncrasies to think about. Persons have, I guess, through the way we were raised, persons have certain beliefs about what a man should be, and that is the Saint Lucian context. That when we have issues that we need to deal with it with the boys, maybe at a bar somewhere or at a party somewhere,
mm-hmm.
or we need to go out to find the outside woman in the context that we use it to deal with that issue there. I know there was a song a couple of years ago about by the bar and this kind of stuff, or the barber shop and these kinds of places. Now, yes, a group of men helping each other deal with issues is good, but most time that those kinds of places, what they breed is behaviors that tend to worsen things for those men. So if it is drinking, the drinking then escalates into alcoholism, which in itself brings its own issues. If it is smoking, the smoking escalates and that can bring its own issues as well. Or if it is other stuff like other partners and so on, that in itself has its issues. So the research is necessary so we could find out exactly what is happening with regards to the psyche of the Saint Lucian man, so that we can put processes and institutions in place to deal with whatever it is that the Saint Lucian man is going through.
Mm. In the context of COVID-19, men and mental health, is it something we should be paying more attention to at this time?
Well, we have to be paying attention to the mental health of everybody at this point in time, because the COVID-19 issue is a serious one, not just because of the infectious aspect, but as well as the isolation aspect that it has caused. So a lot of persons before COVID-19 had their specific ways of dealing with stress, which right now they don't. So the stress has not gone anywhere. If not, it has escalated. And persons now don't have those coping mechanisms to do that. Whether they were negative coping mechanisms or positive ones, in most of the cases are no longer available. So then persons have to now explore new avenues. Without research and without things put in place to help persons cope better, then we can have issues like abuse, violence, disregard for authority, and all of that we have been seeing throughout the COVID issue. And so, yes, the COVID in itself is something that should have long-lasting effects. So we may feel that after after we get a vaccine, things will calm down, but I'm sure we're still going to see the mental health effects long after the infectious aspect has been managed.
Mm-hmm. The webinar last Saturday. Mm-hmm. What are some of the issues that were raised during that webinar?
Well, a variety of issues. I mean, I more or less spoke of it from a psychological viewpoint rather than a psychiatric viewpoint, because psychiatry deals mainly with medications and treatment, but my focus was more on the psychological aspect as to self-care, as to how to deal with interpersonal issues, as to how to build each other as men, how to recognize different aspects of mental, not disturbance, but mental difficulties in men, and how to deal with that, how to deal with persons who may be going through those difficulties, and how to point them in the direction of assistance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How did you feel that the webinar went on Saturday, Shavone?
Well, the support of that webinar was tremendous. I mean, leading up to the day itself, there was a lot of inward doubt, because it is a venture, I believe, that has not been undertaken in our local sphere.
Hope you're not putting yourself under too much mental stress.
Not quite. Actually, if I had a mental breakdown, I would have called a facilitator before the session. But leading up to the session, there was a lot of support. Mm-hmm. And our support did not only come from our peers and associate groups, but it came from within the region. We had persons as far as Jamaica contacting myself, contacting our facilitator, saying that they're looking forward to the session. We had a youth group in Grenada that partnered with us, and they said they definitely want to be a part of this. And we got the support within the region, and we also got it locally. So we partnered with other youth and sports councils, and they definitely said that, you know what, we want to be a part of this. It's mental health, it's for men, it's for the building up of our male figures in society. So we want to be a part of this. And like I said, the support was overwhelming. The numbers came in. We also had the diversity. So we had people of all ages, all walks of life, all backgrounds. They were able to come and contribute and also even add to our facilitator's presentation. And when he came, he did his thing in terms of addressing the notions as well as the Lucian way of raising young men, which is, you must deal with this like that. But, a lot of persons recognize that, yes, we raise young men in a certain way, and because of their roots, that is what is leading to the possible difficulty in their present stage. So we were able to deal with that, and like I said, the support was tremendous. We had it from all around. Yeah.
Tell us a little more, Dr. Gillard, about this notion of the Lucian way.
Well, the Lucian way, I think, more is get around the Caribbean way. So we, as small islanders, have our way of doing things. And what I have noticed, and I think the pediatricians have it clear in their mind, is something called child shifting. So we tend to think that we can leave our children in the hands of relatives and go study, go work, get money and send home, And that studies have shown does not end well in most of the cases. I am sure any of us can think of many examples where you have persons living overseas and the children are here, and the persons who are living with them may say that something is not right with this child, the child is behaving badly, and so on. So the child shifting tends to affect children in more ways than we think. In addition, bullying. Bullying is not just bullying at school, but even bullying in the home or in the neighborhood. Persons think that you're just troubling the child, and that's nothing. But as in my practice, I see persons every day who have tremendous emotional issues because they were bullied as children. And we tend to downplay it a lot. So yes, things like beating children and so on, all of those things doesn't seem to work. So punishment, we know, doesn't work. And that is a known fact. We're trying to now turn parents.
Punishment, you're talking?
Yes, any kind of punishment. So punishing a child for doing something that we don't like doesn't work.
But there are different forms of punishment.
Punishment does not work.
Okay.
It does not work. What we're trying to look at instead is reinforcement. So both positive and negative reinforcement. So when the child does something good, reinforce that. Give the child something to do, and if the child works on part of it or all of it, reinforce the child according to what was done. But punishing the child because they do something doesn't work. And persons might say, I was raised that way and it worked for me. But look at those persons who say that they have a lot of issues going on that either they're in denial of or they're just not willing to deal with. So it does not work.
In our parts, we also have the macho man syndrome. Are you seeing more men paying attention to the mental health and seeking help?
No, actually no. Actually no. I mean,
unfortunately,
that one is a difficult one to tackle, and I think it can only be
how do we break
fore.
that? How do we break that barrier?
Well, the barrier can be broken, but with research, we have to do research, and so we have to show men that the research shows that you have problems with this, and that other research done elsewhere has shown that this is similar there, or this is not similar, and this was done in that area, so it would benefit you to do this and to do that to improve your mental health, to improve your relationships, to improve your outlook on life, to improve even your relationship with yourself. Because I mean, the doctors at the general hospitals are fed up with persons coming in with all sorts of illnesses which can be avoided. A lot of them. But in the absence of
the research, it might be a long time coming. Are there any stopgap measures that you could recommend? How do we reach out to
I mean, when I was in the government service, yes, I had started to a lot of educational activities, but then I'm no longer, so I have no idea what is being done. But like I said, the future is research. That has to be done. I think that is the ultimate way forward for mental health progress in this island, is for us to get research off the ground.
I know you also spent some time in Trinidad. Is the situation any different there, or we have similarities?
There are lots of similarities, but Trinidad is more metropolitan than we are. So the situation in Trinidad is a little more advanced than ours here. Yes, the mental health...
Advanced good or advanced bad?
I don't like to use the words good or bad. Okay, so yes, they have an improved mental health system, well, improved compared to ours, but they also have a lot of issues with alcoholism, with drugs, and with even mental illnesses, with abuse, with crime. So yes, they have positives, and yes, they have negatives as well. We have our positives and negatives, but our system still is not at the level that it is in Trinidad.
Shavone, you care to comment on any other points raised by Dr. Gillard?
Well, definitely in terms of the mental health system, it's something that I've always questioned as a young person, because I will look at, for example, some of the systems we have, like the Vulnerable Persons Unit and the Crisis Center, and the way that it is marketed. I mean, there's so much that I need to find out for myself. But the manner in which those programs are marketed, it makes a safe haven for women who are constantly under abuse or are placed in vulnerable situations. And when I also assess the situation with men, I tend to ask myself, then if men are placed in, or they just happen to be in a situation where their mental health is compromised or they're being affected mentally, then what support systems are being placed there for them, specific to men? And it's something that, like I say, I'm still working on finding, but it's not apparent to me as a young person. So that's why I believe that forums such as this webinar can now sensitize persons on the importance of mental health in males as well as our female counterparts. But in June 2020, we're focusing on the man. So we want to ensure that at least if he does not have that support system, he feels okay to use our current resources in order to facilitate his rehabilitation.
Okay, well said. Dr. Gillard, at this time, COVID-19 upon us, what tips and advice do you have in terms of reducing stress and our overall mental well-being?
I mean, a lot of what I preach is about self-care. Persons tend to think that drinking or partying or things that make them feel better in the short term is self-care. And we have to be careful because a lot of the short-term things that we do tend to have long-term negative consequences. So we have to look at that. Self-care is partaking in activities that would improve your mental resilience. And things like meditation, and I'm sure the young people are tired of hearing me talking about meditation because I try to preach it to all of them.
What is a simple meditation technique?
A simple meditation is something I call see, hear, and feel. So you going about your day doing whatever you're doing, you just stop for a few seconds and you just observe whatever is around you. So you're doing it intentionally. Then you just listen to whatever sounds are around you, and you just feel whatever sensations that you may have in your body, or you could even just feel the clothes on your skin, earrings in your eyes if you're a lady, or chain around your neck, whatever, your glasses on your face, you just feel. So that's a simple mindfulness activity which can bring you back to the present moment. The more you do that, the less your mind wanders. So mind wandering is a known factor, a known reason for unhappiness, and that has been studied. So our minds wander 50% or more of the time. And the more we can bring ourselves back to the present moment, the happier we will be, the better we're able to relate to others, the better we're able to relate with ourselves, the better we're able to deal with stressful situations, the happier basically we will feel. So during COVID-19, meditation is important, or I should say mindfulness, since I brought up a mindfulness activity, because meditation is a part of mindfulness. And so self-care is important. Doing something pleasant with yourself every day. So pleasant activities. So even just taking yourself to the beach, exercise, maybe once a week, eating something that you like. Spending time with your children and not just lying there watching TV, but spending meaningful time. Take them outside and play a game with them. Take them outside and teach them how to climb a tree, teach them how to ride a bike, teach them how to do something, how to wash up the dog or something, or clean the car with you. All of those things help, self-care activities that help you build your emotional resilience. A massage, maybe a movie night with your special person. Everybody's into Netflix. Spend time watching a movie with your favorite person, or even with the entire family. Schedule things that would make you feel good afterwards. And persons tend to take for granted a lot of the things, like even spending time in the mirror with yourself. So spend time in the mirror, just spending time with yourself, talking to yourself, telling yourself, hello, I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you doing?
I'm visualizing what you're saying.
Yes.
And you know, if
it
someone does that in the home,
doesn't
the
matter,
family member might think.
It doesn't matter what the family member
complete
thinks.
Opposite of what you're saying there.
It's self-care.
Okay.
It's you taking care of yourself. You understand that lots of activities, person could just Google self-care activities and just incorporate those in their daily activities to build their emotional and mental resilience.
Shavone was talking earlier on about being in a society where there seemed to be that constant building of them for the most part of women as opposed to men. You have Mother's Day and other occasions, the women have been celebrated, rightfully so. Why do you think that there isn't that? You won't agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, we have a discussion, a debate here between Shavone and yourself.
I think the activities that we see for women are, I should say, deserved.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Think of it. Women are the pillar of this society, of any society.
Okay, I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying why isn't there much ado about Father's Day and other celebrations, Men's Day, International Men's Day, and what have you?
So, do the women make a fuss about Women's Day and Mother's Day and all other days that have to do with women?
Yes, they do, you know. They spend a lot of time at the salon.
Do the men make a fuss about their days? No, they don't. So maybe if the men fuss about their days a little more, then the days would be celebrated a little more. Okay. So it is imperative that the men take that mantle.
So you're saying that it starts with us?
Yes, it starts with us. We too laid back and want to incorporate ourselves into all kinds of activities that have no benefit for us. We need to start putting ourselves into things that will benefit us as men. Joining a club. And not just a club of boys sitting on the block, but a club that will help you improve your public speaking, like Toastmasters, like Kiwanis, like Rotary, all of those things are still around that nobody these days takes part or incorporates themselves into. They're more into the party life and so on. So young men, it's in the youth clubs. How many men you have in your youth club? So the men need to do things to improve themselves, playing video games and so on. How does that improve you?
And I think Shavone is a fine example of that.
Exactly.
Change. You're a member of is it Toastmasters as well?
Yes, the Public Service Toastmasters.
The Public Service. And of course, if you're a Communicate project, you're trying to make that change, not just this month, but going forward. It's going to be a continuous thing.
Yes, definitely, because the mandate of the group is to ensure that a lot of our issues, which normally occur as taboo and areas for improvement, we want to bring it to the forefront and ensure that the message of development, personal development, is clear. That we are all gifted, we are all talented, and what the Communicate project wants to do is provide that forum for persons to unlock their talent, unlock their abilities, and realize that yes, we go for a school system that facilitates academic education and training, but there's also more to it. There's also public speaking, there's creativity, there's arts, there's media, and we want persons to discover that yes, you can be gifted in that as well. So this is where the Communicate project comes in, and we hope to facilitate more sessions like these for men, for women, for young teens. We're also looking at children. So it's just one of many. And when I say one of many, I'm speaking about management. This webinar series is one of many to deal with our different bodies in society.
Okay. Your next webinar, Young Fathers, and I think we have a flyer that we're going to put up on the screen a bit. Tell us more about that.
Okay, well, our next webinar is slated for Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. And it is, like you said, for young fathers. The catchphrase for this webinar is called mentees. And there's an emphasis on the MEN in mentees. So it's mentees. And the focus of this webinar is to look at the lives of young men who are fathers. And one thing I forgot to mention is that all our facilitators for these webinars are fathers. We ensure that there are persons who've had experience, not just in their professional fields and their capacities, but they're also fathers. So they're able to guide and instruct and even offer their expertise when it comes to parenting. The webinar on Wednesday, we have two young men who are, like I said, fathers, affiliated with youth and sports councils, who are going to come and speak of their personal experiences. We have a series of topics for them, and one of the intriguing topics would be the fight or flight. And as young men, we recognize that pregnancy at a young age and expecting a child, some young men would greatly embrace this opportunity, whereas you have other men who do not know how to deal with that. And this is something that we want to talk about. How did you feel when you realized that you were going to be a father? And how are you now able to balance being a father and also developing yourself? You understand? What are the support systems that enable you to successfully raise that child? Because we know fathers cannot do it on their own. So we want to know and teach the young people out there who happen to be fathers that there is a successful way in doing this. Because oftentimes, from the grapevine, you hear that young men don't take responsibility. They just leave their offspring on the earth and they turn their backs. And we have this absentee fathers topic showing its ugly face in many of our societal ills. Once we speak about crime, people ask, where are the fathers? And they'll say young children having children. So we want to overturn that by bringing a positive forum where young fathers can come and encourage other young fathers and definitely break the syndrome and encourage the responsibility amongst their young counterparts.
Okay, so that's Wednesday, June 10th. What time and how can persons participate? What platforms are you using for that webinar?
Okay, well, yes, Wednesday, June 10th, 7 p.m. We are encouraging persons to like our page, The Communicate Project. We are on Facebook, The Communicate Project. Once you like our page, you will see the registration form. We have this form. You enter your email address, your name, and your number. It's optional. But once you do that, you will get email updates from the Communicate Project, as well as our Zoom link, because you can come into our Zoom room, which will enable you to interact and ask our facilitators direct questions. Or you can follow us live on Facebook, because this webinar will be streamed on Facebook, so it can be shared to the various groups and persons can log in if they're not able to be a part of the Zoom session. So we're on Zoom and Facebook Wednesday from 7 p.m.
Okay, be sure to tune in for that one, and we quickly running out of time. Some final words from you, Dr. Gillard?
Well, I would like to say kudos to Shavone and his Communicate project for putting this group of webinars together. I was impressed when I was approached that by the way that they were moving along with things and the ideas that they had. I am fully supportive of their work, and I should be on the webinar tomorrow to give whatever input that I can give. And yes, that's basically it, or what I have to say. Let's hope that persons attend and take note of what is being said, so that it can improve the lives of young men in the society.
Final words from you, Shavone?
Yes, well, thank you definitely for having me, and it is indeed a privilege to have persons like Dr. Gillard on board to help this webinar be a tremendous success. And registering for this webinar through our Facebook page and our Google Forms, we have a series of webinars, so we have more in stock, and every Wednesday and Saturday, you should be seeing another poster from us. So like I mentioned, we have various topics. So far, we have touched on mental health. On Wednesday, we will be dealing with young fathers. And upcoming, we have marriage. We have men as husbands, and we have men in families, and we also have spiritual health. We're also looking to do an additional webinar to tackle physical health, because we know that it is an extension of our mental health webinar, and this needs to be addressed. So I'll definitely encourage everyone to like our page on Facebook, The Communicate Project, and register for this webinar series, Management.
Well said, Shavone Bryan, and thank you so much for being here. I suspect this our first interview, and it definitely will not be our last, and I'm sure that Saint Lucia and the rest of the world, you'll be hearing quite a lot from this young man seated right here with me today. I quite enjoyed your presence. And Saint Lucia, I also leave you with just a few health tips today as we say goodbye for now, and see you next time right here at the Information Command Center. Do continue to be safe and continue to take care of your health, not just our men, but our entire society. We really need to look out for each other, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for staying tuned.
Hey there, I'm Nick here with your Monthly Minute. June is Men's Health Month. And I gotta say, men, we can do better. We men are 25% less likely to have visited a healthcare provider in the past year and almost 40% more likely to have skipped recommended cholesterol screenings. Women are 100% more likely than men to visit the doctor for annual exams and preventative service. So it's really no surprise that men live about 5 years less than women and are 1.5 times more likely than women to die from heart disease, cancer, and respiratory disease. In fact, 1 in 2 men will develop cancer in their lifetime. The good news is it doesn't have to be this way. Here's some simple things men can do to improve overall health. Go to the doctor. Look at me, really go to the doctor. And ask that doctor about the preventative health screenings you should have for your particular age and stage of life. Get moving. Men who exercise have higher testosterone levels, lower risk for some cancers, cardiovascular disease, death from diabetes, and sleep apnea, and even live longer lives. Eat healthy. Among other things, men should be eating 2 cups of fruit and 2.5 cups of vegetables a day. It's as simple as eating an apple, a banana, and a large salad. Sleep. We need at least 7 hours of sleep every night. Prioritize those Z's. Well, that's my time. We'd love for you to share this video with the men you love and follow us for more monthly minutes and other helpful content. See you next time.